Rob Reimers, and I run Rustic Rob's Guide Service. And we're going to talk about river sturgeon tonight. I know a lot of guys fish the Delta, but I like to fish the river because the fish are bigger, they fight harder, and you can lose them around snags, so it's always your heart's up in your throat. So I just like to fish them, pour them in the rivers. So the first thing I want to go over is the rod that I use. And this is a little bit of an older rod. It's a cousin's rod. Phoenix makes the same kind of rod. It's an 808, 8-footer. It's a good rod. It's got a softer tip, and it's got a nice heavy backbone, which works really good. I also like these Shimano Calcutta 700 reels, but also the Daiwa Lexus 400s. They're good reels too. In fact, they may be better. I just have these right now, so might as well wear them out.
How about the Pen 2-speed?
The that's really more like ocean stuff. You don't need all that for the river. You want one that got a little deal that goes across.
So you want the line?
Yeah, you're talking about ocean stuff.
Okay.
So
is that a better price point than the?
Yeah, these are going to be a little cheaper than the 2-speed and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
No.
And is that a medium fast, or is it medium?
It's more like a, well, it doesn't say on here, but it's like a fast taper. It's got a pretty soft tip.
Okay.
It's got a pretty soft tip, but as you come into here, it's got a good heavy backbone. So you can see the little tiny bites down. I was out a couple nights ago, the sturgeon that I hit, and if I wasn't standing right next to the rod, I couldn't even seen it bite. It was just barely going. So I knew he had it in his mouth, so I set it and I got him. But he was too big to bring him in here for cleaning him, so we're not going to have a sturgeon to clean tonight, unfortunately.
What size line do you run there?
This is fins. It's the original line. I run either 65 or 80. Now you want to run 65 if you're in deeper water, run 80, if you're on snags and stuff up there. And I like the original because it's rough, and the reason I like the rough is because it makes a lot of noise going through the eyes, and it makes my clients all excited. So, that's what we got with our rod.
And what's the ratio on your reel?
It's not a lot. This one's maybe like 4-to-1, 5-to-1. It's not a lot.
Okay.
What pound test do you use?
65 or 80.
65 reading?
Yeah. Now I use 80 if I'm in shallower water around snags, and I use 65 if I'm in deeper water. Because the 65, it's going to cut the water better. You don't have to use as much weight. That's the only reason. Now, and then now I thought I would build one of my rigs for you guys. I use those Kylie hooks. They're good stuff. Whatever you like to use. I like these old Gamakatsu, octopus, barbless hooks. They've always worked good for me, so that's what I use. And I like steel cable, rubber coated or got plastic coating over it. A lot of people say they don't like steel cable because it's too stiff, but that's not exactly stiff. So it's actually more flimsy than your monolines that people are using.
What's the weight on your wire?
I only use 40-pound wire, and it seems to work plenty good enough to see that. Now with this, I'm using the sleeves and stuff. I don't have the problems with it breaking at the knots like you do with monoline, so I can use a lighter line. Now the sleeves. Now, I spent many years trying to perfect this.
How long do you start with? What's that, about 20?
Good point. Yeah.
30 inches?
What I'm looking for is about a 36-inch leader. So when I cut this one, I cut maybe an extra 6 inches to make up for the knots and stuff. So it's going to be, by the time I get done, it'll be about 36.
What pound test on the leaders?
It's 40 pounds.
40 pound test?
You go through here once, then I go through it a second time. So it's almost like a double loop clinch knot or a tri-lead knot. Then I go through the sleeve a second time. I might have to put my glasses on.
you have these pre-tied, or you do this in the boat at home?
I pre-tie 'em at home, but I bring the stuff with me sometimes in case I need it, you know, to pre-tie something. I mean, to tie something, you know, in the boat. Because a lot of times you only get one go out of them, you know. I mean, you can use them more than once, but sometimes they tear it up pretty bad. So then, this is my real trick: is I take and I put an overhand knot in the tag, like that. And then now I take the tag and I stick it in here in my sleeve. Maybe I should come out here so you guys can see it better.
So you got it going in.
Yeah, so it goes through that sleeve 3 times.
Yeah, it won't go past that knot you just tied, huh?
No, it won't. You can almost just use these without even crimping it. Since I come up with this, I haven't had one of these knots fail.
What size hook?
I normally use, this is 7/0. Now if I'm using roe, I'll use 7/0. If I'm using ghost shrimp or something like that, I'll use 8/0. And what you do is you just slowly pull it all up and flip that little extra loop back over there and hold, you gotta hold it in place and then tie it. There you go. You can almost use it just like that. And
How much backing on the reel, by the way? What kind of reel would you put?
Pardon?
How many feet of reel would you put on that 60?
I use like 300 yards.
300 yards?
Yeah. You can buy the 300-yard spools, you know, and then I just put 300 yards on there.
So you just use a pair of tights to crimp it.
I'm using a pair of dikes to trim the tag, and then I use to crimp it. That'll do it right there. And then what I do is I use these McMahon swivels. They've never failed me. They're good, expensive, heavy-duty swivels. First, I put a little bit of this heat shrink on there. Just regular electrical heat shrink. You can buy Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever.
Got 130-pound rated swivel?
I'm not sure what this was rated at. It was way overdoing it, I know that. Because these things, man, if you got like 40-pound of mass, it'd be so tiny, you know. But what you want to do, you want to make sure you stay just small enough so if you want to replace this heat shrink, you can slide it over top of the swivel. And you do the same thing on the swivel end. Come down here a little bit more so you guys can.
And you're not gurring that down, you're just basically pulling it up snug, right?
Yeah, well, I'll put it up so that the little extra loop there, it's right there on the eye. You know, it's not loose.
Okay.
It's up there tight. Crimp this one. And now. Normally, I'll use a faucet or the river or whatever, something like that. I'm going to take and heat this onto here. Now, you want to hold it straight like that. Stick it on the water. I stick it on the faucet at home. And like I said, if you're doing out there, you can stick it in a river. And when you're done, you've got a rigid hook. And I like a rigid hook. It's a lot better for letting things lay on the bottom of the river, just laying flat. You know, and they suck it up. It's going to hook into them better, you know. And the glory part about it is, once you hook your fish up, then it can bend around like this, see? Now you might mess up the heat shrink, you might have to cut it off and put some more on. But you're not, compromising your joint that you should have right there.
It's gonna be laying on the bottom, not up above.
Right, it's gonna be laying just like that.
And that's because
And that
of the steel
rigid
cable?
hook will help just lay it dead there.
That because of the weight of the cable, the steel or the plastic coated cable you're using?
No, because the sinker will be right on the bottom, and then this will be laying here, be laying just like that. A lot of people think everything floats up, but it doesn't.
Okay.
The current's going to force it
It's
down.
keeping it down, because
So
I've
you
seen
don't-
guys run a
Slider.
Slider, yeah,
on
I'll
it,
get to
yeah.
that in just a second. So then, I'll put a sinker on here, the slider. I use this little red slider. I've been around for 100 years. Put a sinker on there. Now I like cannonball sinkers mostly because I only use 3 rods, and I'll get to that in a minute. But no matter where you throw it out, it's going to center up behind the rod. So, each one will center up behind the rod. Now sometimes I use those pyramid weights if I want to get it further out to the side because it's going to stick into the sill. And your leader on here, on the bottom. I didn't bring any sinkers with me. Like that, and you're good to go. There you are. That's your rig.
Rob, could you pass the meter around so that we could see,
Oh, sure.
if you wouldn't mind, please?
Don't be trying to set the hook on each other, though.
No, we won't do that.
Yeah, it'll come out easy. It's barbless.
We'll have to cut it off.
Rob, how are you deciding what weight to use?
Sinker-wise?
Yeah.
Sinkers, you want to use as much weight as necessary, but as little as possible. So during the evening, if you don't have a lot of weeds out there, if it's pretty clean, throw it out, sets on the bottom, it's fine. But now, I remember one time when I first started sturgeon fishing, I was spending the whole night out there, and I didn't add some weight to it, didn't go to a bigger size sinker. Woke up in the morning, and my line's floating on the surface with about this long of weeds on it. So be sure to use some extra weight,
Question. You know how some people run short leaders, like 20-inch leaders? Why do you run a long leader?
It's just seems to work for me. I've used different sizes, and it just seems to work for me. I mean, I want enough leader to where when they come up on it and they want to suck it up, they can pick it up and it'll go up. I don't want it too short of a leader if it gets the weight, because I'm not using like balancers or something. I'm using regular rigid rod holders, so I need a little extra line so they can pick it up. Because they're going to be like this far off the bottom, their mouth's going to go way down, and they need to suck it up in there. So you want to be able to go up.
You don't want them to feel the weight.
Yeah, you don't want them to feel nothing. Even with my rod holders, which I'll get into that in a minute. You don't want them to feel nothing. They'll spit it. They'll spit it in a hurry.
So the sturgeon's very finicky.
Yeah, they've been around a while. They've been in a boat once or twice. Once they get oversized, they know what's going on. They're usually going, see, I'm oversized, she'll be back.
How deep is the water you're fishing in usually?
Because I fish at night, I can fish shallower waters. I'll go as shallow as 8 foot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now, what you want to do is you're looking for a smooth, flat bottom. A mud bottom, a mud or sand, up there, and you want to be next to a deep hole. If you get next to a deep hole, it can be ideally you want it to be, you want to be just above the deep hole. But one of my favorite spots, I'm down below the deep hole. So they'll lay around snags during the day, because that's their current break. Up there in the river, they get current all the time. It's not like down the delta where you got, tidal changes. So they got to get behind a snag, and they'll use that for a current break. And then they'll come out into the flats to feed, and they'll just vacuum the bottom. They'll go both directions. I'll watch them on my sonar, and if they're laying flat on the bottom like this, they're working upstream. But then the ones that are going downstream, you can see them, their ass ends up in the air, and they're using the current, just riding the current down. So you can watch them that way. Now, actually, I want to get into that a little bit later, but my I've been using the side finder lately. Usually it gets dark, although I have caught them after dark. But you know, it calms down and they come out and they start feeding. And then you hook them. First thing they do is they run back to that snag. I just said they're just running home to mom and whining about that hook in their mouth.
Are they always gonna hide behind the snag, or they look for some?
Well, when they
Dead
want to
water.
rest, when they want to rest, they're not actively migrating or actively feeding. They're just gonna crawl into a deep hole around a snag and just lay there, you know, and rest.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, in the slack tide, same thing, you know. So patient, that's the key. And when you go out there, have a plan. You know, like you got 3 guys in the boat, say. So, okay, you're gonna catch the sturgeon. You know, so he knows he's got to get on the rod. The other 2 guys got to reel the rods in. Up here in the river, I try to get the rods out of the water as fast as I can, because there's been too many times. I used to fish with 4 rods, now I only fish with 3. You know, unless I got at least 2 guys to reel the rods in. And the reason being is, you know, I've had them run out. Sturgeon notoriously in the river will, you hook them, they run out, and they turn around, they run right back at the boat. And then you won't have all the rods in, and they run sideways a lot. And they'll get around that other rod, get the hook off. You know, it's happened too many times. And I finally said, heck with it, man. If I only got 2 guys in a boat, I'm only fishing 3 rods. So it's that 4th rod that gets you. In fact, one time I had one where the hook actually hit the line so perfectly, the braid, that it parted the line and it was stuck in it like that. But it extracted the hook, you know. It was that 4th rod. I just couldn't get it in. That was the last time I fished with 4 rods with 2 guys. Now 3 guys, you know, you get 2 guys reeling them in, so it's not so bad. And, you know, you also got to remember here, like out in the Delta, you know, you got a vast area. So you want half a dozen rods out there, you know, because you want to put as much smell as you can out there to try to attract some fish. Well, you're in the river, you know, it's not from here to the wall over there. That's a long ways, you know. It's not as wide, and you're on that flat, smooth bottom where they're working it, you know. So they're gonna find it sooner or later. Just gotta wait them out. So have that plan. Make sure you have that plan. And also on your anchor, make sure you got a buoy on it, so you can just throw it off. Because there's a lot of times you get a bigger fish. I'm surprised with that 7-footer that I didn't have to throw off my anchor. You know, but I didn't want to do it because I was on the boat by myself, so it's kind of hard to handle a drifting boat and handle the fish too. So I just kept fighting you. And it took me over half an hour to get that one in. But yeah, keep your anchor on a buoy where you can just throw it off, and then you follow the fish. And I'll just follow it. Sometimes they want to head for a snag, you know, and you can get your boat in between the fish and the snag and kind of turn them around and make them go in another direction. So you're always battling those snags. So you gotta watch that. Now, where to position your boat? Where you position your boat matters an awful lot. Get this one out too. Now, let's say you got your river coming down here like this, and it turns a corner and it goes like this. You want to stay out of corner. Yeah, I really should do more out like that. But when the current's coming down and your water's high, and you got trees coming down, of course they're going to be more to the outside. You want to be the inside. But you're going to have a lot of leaves, a lot of garbage, lettuce, salad, seaweed, whatever you want to call it. And you want to try to avoid as much of that as you can. So that water is going to come down here like this. It's going to go around this corner, and then it's going to eddy on you like this. Start eddying. So you want to position your boat just above that spot. You may have to move a couple times when you first get out there. But you want to find there'll be a spot just above where that water's eddying down below there, where it's going to be the least amount of garbage. Because all the rest of the garbage is going to go out around you. You're going to be in here like this. So That is important. And then the water's kind of muddy, murky, but it's not a lot of garbage and stuff. You want to position yourself up above here, above the corner, because that water, you could even go a little bit more towards the middle. That water, as it comes around the corner, then it's not nearly as fast, not nearly as much water. Water's lower. It'll come around this corner, and it'll just kind of go across the river like this, and then it'll hit this side and go. You see? Now, by sitting right here, you're running a scent trail into here. And that current's going to take your scent trail all the way across the river. So that way, no matter where a sturgeon comes up through here, he's going to cross your scent trail, he's going to find it, and then he's going to come over and find your bait. So that's the difference. When you got lower water, you want to fish up here. When you got high water with a lot of garbage, you want to fish down below the corner, just around the corner. And you crowd more closer to the bank when the water's higher. That'll do that. Any question? No question?
I do. So you're coming down the river. You've done your daytime scouting. You know generally where you want to fish. You're moving up. How far above that eddy are you setting? And then how much anchor road are you putting out? How are you positioning your boat in there?
Well, you want to you figure out how far you can cast your line out. And you figure where, okay, I think the eddy's about down here, you know. So you want to go far enough up so by the time you throw your anchor out, your rope out, your boat's here, you're throwing your lines to here, and you're still above it. You know, you don't want to get too high above it or you'll be catching it coming around the corner, you know.
You say you throw as far out as you can. Is that for the sound in the boat, or
No,
get
you
the
know,
stuff way out there? Or?
I do that because I just have better luck that way. Throwing it out quite a ways as far as I can. Now, when we're talking about that side finder and the fish going out around it, well, then the fish are coming up. I want to catch them out there before they start swinging out around. Yeah.
What about light management? What are you doing with your lights?
Mostly cussing them.
You need a new switch, but
Yeah.
I mean, as far as when are you using them? When do you have them off?
I like to have a bunch of lights up on top, mostly for my clients. Then I have a couple of smaller lights. You know, I call them night lights, you know, and they'll shine right onto my rods. And another trick I do is I'll take some good old oaky chrome and I'll just paint like my top 4 eyes with that oaky chrome paint. And that way they'll shine up a lot in the lights. And I'll try to move those lights, you know, up, point them up towards the tips of the rod so there's not as much light going in the water. You want to have as little light going in the water. In fact, I just did something brand new on my lights. I was noticing out there last time that there was the secondary light from the lights was still lighting up the back of the boat, you know, behind the boat. So I took a piece of aluminum and I made it about 4 or 5 inches long and set my lights are up above it. That way it kind of blocks all that light from going down. I think that's going to be better. So you want to be kind of sneaky Pete out there.
You have to have your nav lights on when you're anchored there? at
No,
night?
nav lights are navigation lights.
Oh,
You're not navigating. You got to have your anchor light on though. You got to have a 360 white light. That's your anchor light.
Huh.
The red and blue light, red and green light are only for when you're moving. If you're anchored, they're not supposed to be on.
But you run those ones on top all the time for the people to see.
No, the
For
ones
the
that are on
customer?
top, those are off until I hook a fish.
Okay.
Then I turn them on. And that way they can see the fish and see it jump if it jumps, you
I
know,
see.
and
Yeah.
it's just for them to show.
Right.
But you
right.
got that stern, like, just
Right.
light up there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, on a pole? Or
You can have it on your pole, you
Have
know.
you bring it, have you chopped it down or anything, try to keep the light down for the, or you keep it factory?
No, I think that light's not going to bother the fish because it's kind of usually made with a dark bottom and light's just shining out.
Okay.
You know, I don't think that's really enough light to bother it. But you know, I got pretty good little lights. You know, those little 6 little LED lights. You know, one on each side for shining on my rods.
And you can see the tip of the pole.
Oh yeah, you can see, no problem.
Can you demonstrate by pulling your line what it would look like?
Well, you know, if you get a good bite, hold that. Both hands. A little higher. Now, the one bite I got the other night, that's all it was. Right there. And he was just held it down like that. A lot of times, though, they'll go like this. Now, eel, seems like with eel, it'll be more like this.
That far down, huh?
Yeah. And if you get like what, you know, if they hang themselves, it'll just go like that. And they're hung.
You don't have your tips like arced a little bit with the weight,
Well, very little. Just a titch. You know, just tighten the line is all.
so it's nice and taut.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bait stealer fish, they're more of a peck, peck, peck.
Yeah.
Sir.
Now, that's an interesting point, too, because bait stealers are out there. You know, your sturgeon, they're usually more a smooth little pull. Bait stealers are like this, you know, pull. But there's one time when I was out there with my little nephew, and, you know, we were getting bait stealers just eating us up. You know, just bang, 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 bang. You know, so I'm going to rip his lips off, you know. So, you know, and I just seen a little bit bigger, you know, but it looked just like a bait stealer. You know, but a little bit bigger, and I set the hook, and all of a sudden, holy crap! You know? and after that, man, I was pulling on everything, and it never happened again. So you know, I don't know if it was bait stealers hitting it, he just came along and grabbed it, or if sometimes, you know, they look like a bait stealer, but they're really a sturgeon.
You think the sturgeon's right there next to the bait stealer? Or no, not.
Well,
not
I've
at
watched
all.
videos, and you'll have all these bait stealers around there, and the sturgeon moves in, the big boy in town, the bait stealers just.
They clear out.
Yeah, they don't swim fast, but they just move out of the way.
You have to do anything to manage the side-to-side movement of the boat in the current, or
I built a little keel to go on my kicker motor. That works. You can use a second anchor in the back. Now with that big long boat I got, it's a constant problem managing it nowadays. But when I had it,
worry about the rear anchor, them getting tangled in it.
well, what it is, I just drop an anchor straight down on whatever side will keep it from moving, and then if we get a fish on, it's got to come in. You know, that's something you got to think about when you're using it. You know, but I use those drift socks; they work good too. You know, where you got the one rope that you tie off, and then rope that's hooked to the back of it. When you pull on it, it comes in backwards. You know.
You were using a drift sock on your video, weren't you?
Yeah. I was using one drift sock.
Yeah.
That still has to come in though if you get a hookup.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're by yourself, you're busy.
Yeah. Watch one of my videos. You see how busy I was. Yeah, you'll stay pretty busy. Now my rod holders. I like a rod holder, not the regular old standard. I don't like these for sturgeon fishing. The old standard, you know, one. You can buy them in any kind of brand. But I like these. These are quick release ones that open up. So you just grab the rod, pull it up. Here's another style. Same thing. Where, you know, you can grab the rod, just pull it out like this. Anything where you don't have to monkey with the rod at all, because if the sturgeon feel that, they're gonna spit it out and leave it alone. So you want something that you can just grab the rod and take it out, and you're setting the hook all in one motion.
Sturgeon could feel if you're holding the pole too.
Yeah, well, they can feel you, so don't
Yeah.
hold your pole. You'll hold it for a long time. Yeah, I don't like holding poles. I've had clients, I don't want to hold the pole.
On your hook set, you using a bass hook set or you using a nice long draw on it?
You just want to set that rod like you're trying to break it in half. And the fish will tell you when it's far enough, because you'll pull up and it'll just stop right. You know, but you want to pull until you feel the pressure of that fish stop you.
And when
They
you,
got a tough mouth.
and when you do the reel down technique, you still hit
Yeah, you want to reel down, and what that does is it gets the hook started in them, and then you still want to pull it up and set the hook.
Well, with most of your reels, you're one crank, you're moving, 4 foot of line.
Yeah.
Whereas lifting it up, you're maybe running.
Well, what you want to
8
do
foot
is you want to
table.
reel until you
Just
feel
to
the
say,
rod
yeah, exactly.
loading up, you know. Yeah,
The
which
reel
is
down.
usually, 2 to 4 cranks. Okay. Well, we got enough of that, so. Okay, we talked about muddy water and clear water. And the best times, you know, where your chart goes, you know, you want to fish that bottom third on both sides. You know, it's a hazard being out there at the top, because that's when you got trees going down and everything else. You're out there at night. I've had whole trees hit me, you know, and I've had trees come down during the day. You know, I was out fishing with one client, and I look up around the corner, and I could see this tree coming. I'm looking at it, yeah, it's going to go around us. It's going to hit us. You know, it's just a big, long, dead one, about 30 feet long, and the butt was like this, you know. And I go, nah, it's going to go around. Nah, it's going to hit us. And it turned where that butt was hitting right from the nose of my boat. So I went up there, and I'm trying to just push it off with my pole, you know. About that time I hear my client going, "Fish on!" Great. So I go, "Yeah, I'll be there as soon as I can," you know. And I got that fish off, you know, got that log off, and I went back there. And then, of course, you know, the fish, I swear, it's like they know what's going on, because they just headed upstream right for that log. And I go, "Stick your rod in the water." And that's your only chance. They stuck it way down the water, so the line just went underneath it. You know, so we fought him around a while, and the log went on down. And he just took off downstream. We had to pull the anchor. I guess he wanted to catch up to the log, because he got down there and he caught up to the log, and we had to go through it again. We finally did get him way down there. Turned out it was a greenie, so we had to let him go. That's another thing too, is your green sturgeon don't jump. Your hens up here don't tend to want to jump because they're full of eggs, but your green sturgeon seems like they don't jump. They just want to just mill around the boat most of the time. And once in a while, they'll just take off. Now the moon phases, like I talked about, you know, you want to be sure and fish that 5 days before the full moon and the full moon. That's your best time. Now, you know, this last week, it was a no moon. So, you know, I was doing the same thing, which is probably why fish were so active when it first got dark, because it was light out and they were just, you know, kind of lazy, hanging around, boats going over top of them. As soon as it got dark, they'd come out and start feeding. But like after 9 o'clock, man, they were just shut down. I mean, I wasn't even marking any fish anymore. But that 5 days before the full moon and the full moon, that's when I had my best luck. 2 that night, and it was full moon, and it was a great fight, great video too.
Same as fishing on the bank, full moon or right before the full
Yeah,
moon.
same thing. Now you're gonna get more line rubs on the
Right.
bank, because your line's going out, or you know, if you're fishing out in the river, your line's going straight back.
Right.
You're probably gonna have more line rubs. So, you know, expect that. You know, you're getting. It looks like you just hung one, and you go to set the hook, and there's nothing there, and it's just a line rub. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of times if you wouldn't have set the hook, which you got no way of knowing, you know, until after you set the hook, you know. But if you left it alone, or if you do that, just leave it back down, because they may come around and come back to your bait. Because I've watched them on videos where they'll come up and suck up a bunch of bait and then spit it out, and swim right over top of the bait, swing around, and a couple minutes later they come right back to the bait again, suck it up, and they might spit it out again. They come around again, and they just suck it up and eat it, and they got them.
You set the hook and say you miss them, and that spook them off.
If you didn't sting them, they probably come back. They might be 15, 20 minutes, an hour, you know, but they'll come back.
What about the weather? Like, you know, we've got this light, you know, snow and rain and kind of stuff going on. Probably won't create that much mud. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to create too much muddy conditions. Now, pressures, you know, I've had my best luck. Like, you get a low pressure front come through, and as soon as like one day, like this Saturday, it's going to do it, where you got low pressure, and then all of a sudden it turns around and you got high pressure, and you got the wind coming from the north. And I have pretty good luck on those days. And you also have good luck on cold front, like a couple nights ago when I got that 61 incher. You know, we had a cold front just starting to come in. So it's like any other fish, you know, they'll go on the bite when the cold front's coming.
Is it better to fish after the front leaves, like say after the storm bypasses? Is that a good time, or would you think prior?
Well, if you can catch a but it's only on a cold front. If you catch it right on a cold front just before, then that's a good time. But I also, do good like right at the end of it, when that cold front leaves, low pressure leaves, and the high pressure starts to come in, the wind turns around. I mean, I've been out there many times, and I get out there, and the wind's blowing pretty hard right in my face coming out of the south. And then by the time it gets dark, it's turned around and it's coming out of the north. And I have good luck on those nights.
Just the difference in the pressure between 30 and 29
But
and
the
a
difference
half.
between it being low and rising, So.
When it's stable or when it's moving, on the move.
No, well, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you're off that low pressure.
Yeah.
About water temp, bro.
That was my next thing. Water temp, if you notice like stripers and other kinds of fish, it seems like 50 degrees is a breakover point. In fact, for bait stealers up here, if you're above 50 degrees, you're going to start having problems with bait stealers. If you're below 50 degrees, you'll be good, but you don't want to get too much below 50 degrees. Sturgeon are good down to like 48 degrees when everything other fish are like 50 degrees. But what happens is when you get below 50 degrees, they'll bite, but they just get lethargic and they just slow way down and just mill around. They don't have to eat as much because their metabolism slows down. So, it's you can catch them when the water's in the 40s, but you're just not going to be as successful as often, yeah.
And then how high above?
Well, usually, sturgeon season up here is, February, March, and April. So it's not gonna. I can't really remember it hitting 60 degrees up here that time of year. So it's not gonna be like salmon season where you got you got 80-degree water they're fighting. You're not gonna have that problem.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? We got any other questions?
In the cold water, sturgeon could go right over your bait and not even touch it, huh? Just
Yeah, well, they
stay
don't
on-
have to eat as often, because their metabolism slows down. So, it's not like they're just always looking for something to eat. That, like I said, sturgeon don't spawn every year and they don't eat every day. I've been out there lots of times where I've seen all kinds of sturgeon around me. I've had it roll right next to the boat, jump right behind the boat, and we never get a bite the whole night because they're just not on the bite.
The female wouldn't come up here if she wasn't going to spawn.
Correct. Male's going to come up anyways because they
Right.
want to get some.
Right.
So- But, go ahead.
When you use the spawn sacks, how big a ball of bait do you?
Well, I got one of those little tools. I didn't bring it with me. Where you stick it down. I got two pieces of metal that go on it like this,
Mhm.
and you stick the spawn sack on it, stick the row in it, and push
Got
it
it.
down in, then you push the things together. And I just I put some spawn sack this way, spawn sack this way, and I make them as big as I can. So
Okay.
they're about this big when I get done.
Okay. A little bigger than a golf ball then.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you throw out the sack, do you, like if you get a hit and you reel it in, do you just add to the sack, add
No.
another one on top? or
No,
do you just take it
no.
all
Usually
off?
I'll leave it out and they'll crunch it. Even the bait stealers will do the same thing. They'll just crunch it and get the juice out of it. And then so you bring it in after a bait stealer's been on it a little bit, or a sturgeon gets on it. You bring it in. That's all you'll have is a sack.
Do you do 30 minutes to an hour, or depending on the action of the
No,
bull, or just 30?
It depends on how bad the bait stealers are getting on it. You just got to judge it by your bites. You might be out there 5-10 minutes, or you might be out there a half an hour. It just depends on how bad they're hitting it.
Okay.
If
So
you're
you-
out there no bite at all, will you change to fresh bait again or keep
Well,
the
what
same
I'll
bait?
do is I'll leave it out there for 20 minutes or so, and then I'll bring it back in. I might squirt a little anise on it or something, or just to put a little more scent on it, and throw it back out there. Cause they ain't eating eggs that are coming right out of the hen. They've been in the water for a while, so they still eat it.
Is that only with eggs that you reel it in that often and check it?
Yeah, well, with my other baits, I'll check it like 20 minutes to half an hour, even if nothing's hitting it. And I'll bring it in, I'll put some scent on it, and throw it back out there.
What's your go-to scent?
What's that?
What's your go-to scent?
I like anise and I like bloody tuna. And I like that Procure sand shrimp. That's ghost shrimp. You know, that's what they call ghost shrimp up in Oregon and Washington, sand shrimp.
So you don't use the Procure sturgeon one?
Yeah, I like the, well, I use the Bang anise because the spray can, it seems like it's got a pretty good smell to it. That way, just spray a little on it. So I like to bang everything.
No garlic though.
You know. Well, you could use garlic, but it's not a big scent with me for them, you know.
Oils or gels? Which one?
I like the oils.
Oils.
Yeah, I don't like gel. I like gels for putting on lures. You know, but when you put it on, you know, a sardine, it doesn't stick worth a darn. You know, you throw it out there, it comes right off. So you put the oils on there, it soaks into the meat a little bit. I'll even have different, sometimes I'll have different bait. I'll have one laying here, put some scent on it, oil on it, you know, let it sit there while I throw one out there. Let it soak into the meat, and I'll change them. You know, throw the other one out.
So when you're cruising up the river and using your side view, and are you using that to find your flats and in your like? You
Well,
said you
I
wanna
pretty
be
much
close
know.
to
I
a
pretty much
dip.
know where they're at.
You want to be close to a dip, but where
Well, you want to be at where there's a deep hole. Like my favorite spot in the river. You know, I'm fishing, you know, 8 to 14 feet, depending on the level of the river, and it's a smooth, flat bottom. But right behind me, I got a hole that's 30 feet deep. You know, and there's 2 or 3 snags in there, and you know, it's hard to do. But if you go in there and look real close, you can see that there's sturgeon around the snags. But it's hard, you know, with sonar, it's hard to tell the difference between the snag and the sturgeon, you know. But they'll come up out of that hole into the smooth, flat bottom to feed.
and what kind of anchor do you prefer up there in the delta? Because I got one of those like flat blades that sit down with the metal
Yeah,
thing
the
that pops up.
Walmart anchors.
Yeah, kind of.
I usually just, you know, cut the rope, throw that in the river. Because when I first got a boat, man, those things, you can't hang it, you can't hang it, you can't hang it, and then when you finally hang it, you can't get it out when you're ready to go.
So do you use
So-
4-claw kind of?
No, what I use is it's similar to that, but it's got blades on the top and bottom. And then it's got 2 bars that come up and a little chain, and it goes through a pipe. And I don't know if there's a name for that kind of anchor, but it's like the Davenport anchor. But then if you hang it up, you go upstream and you pull that chain and that little pipe out, and then it pulls out the other way. And I've been using those now for like 25 years, and I never lost an anchor. And usually, you know, I'll weight them down. Sometimes they have a hollow pipe in the front with, you know, 4 blades coming off. I'll fill that up with lead. I have another one that's got solid pipe. But usually you throw that in the water wherever it hits the bottom, it hangs. The only place it's no good is if you get up further up north and you're trying to anchor in cobble rock. And then I'll throw 2 of them out and I'll do the trick. So we have anything else?
Passed around the row and crackers for snacks. Maybe it's a snack time.
That's Alan. Alan forgot the damn snacks again.
I got another one. When you say you put a buoy on your anchor, how far, like, do you put the buoy like right before it's going in the water where you got it tied off?
I usually just leave, you know, about so much rope there so that you can hook it onto your.
And then if you got 100 feet of rope, you throw the 100
Right.
feet.
Yeah.
And then you got your.
Or you can use it, you know, and just tie it off wherever and just have it laying there in your boat. So you unhook it and throw it in.
Toss it.
And you want to be sure too is, you know, like I see people where they're going like this and then doing half hitches on there. You don't need all that. I just go in there, go around the little hook one time and then just 1 half hitch, you know, with the rope underneath. And that holds it because you want it to be where you can get it off fast. You know, I mean, you don't want to be up there monkeying around trying to undo all that. You know, you want to be able to get off, throw it off. Or you can get those little gizmos I've seen where, you know, you stick the rope in it and it
And it
wedges in there.
That's-
Those are great.
That's
Yeah.
great.
You know, you can just grab it and throw it, and then you're off. So, you know, there's different ways to do it, but you want to figure all that out ahead of time and be ready to.
Not when you go to fish.
Yeah, have your plan.
Net. What are you looking at for in a net? big size?
Big,
length?
you know, yeah. I got a couple nets. One's yeah, you know, you want a big ass net. I don't think he's even got any big enough here.
There you go. Big ass net.
It's the official size, big ass.
You want to get a big net like this one. Wow. Because you can remember, you got that fish out there, and you want to go right at his head, then you want to swing it around. I can't do it in here. But you want to swing it around in a circle so that you just coil him up into a 180. He'll just fold up into 180 right in your net. And if you're by yourself, you'll be out there and they got the rod in this hand, got your net in this hand, and you do the same thing, just coil them. And then as I'm coiling them, you know, and I got them in the net, I drop the rod and just hold the rod with 2 fingers and grab the net with 2 fingers. And make sure you always turn your net up like this. You know, whether you're striper fishing or whatever, salmon fishing, because you'll bust your net. I used to work at a shop. I have guys come in and say, "Oh, how do you warranty your net? Or it's broke here." And I go, "Well, see, we don't warranty it if you misuse it." He goes, "No, we didn't." I go, "Yeah, you did." I go, "You bent it, then you bent it back, and you bent it back." And then the guy goes, "No, I didn't." The guy goes, "Come on, he knows." But yeah, you want to make sure you get a good heavy net. This is like minimal. It's rubber coated. But you want to get a good heavy net. They won't tear it up, you know, but if you get a light, cheap net, you know, they can tear that net up. So you want to make sure you get a good net.
Is the 8-foot pole always a must or 7 foot?
You know, usually you got 2 guys in the boat. So, you know, if you got this length pole here, that's plenty. Because you want to fight that fish down to where, you know, he's whipped, he's given up. So he would be bringing him in on the surface. Now sometimes if you got a bigger fish, you might be smart to bring him in close to the boat and then throw your anchor off. Take the current out of the equation. So then you're drifting down and there's nothing there. So then it's a lot easier to net him, a lot easier to pull him into the boat. Because, you know, you got big old fish on there and you got a pretty good current. You know, it's hard to pull them upstream. You know, you might, you know, pull a hook, you might break something, you know, break the line or whatever, you know.
So you got your fish in the net, your buddy's holding the rod. Okay, what do you do now?
High five.
Pass the beers around.
Yeah. You just, like I said, turn that net up. Make sure you grab down low on the ring and then pick it up. You might need both guys, you know. You can set the rod down at that point. Bring a little line out, set the rod down. One guy on one side of the net, and the guy on the other. Bring it in. And sturgeon are pretty durable. You know, they can stay out of the water for a long time. There was a story I seen where a fishing game guy caught someone with a green sturgeon and it had been out of the water for something like 8 hours or something. You know, he found it in the back of his SUV. And he took it out there in the water and monkeyed with it for like 20 minutes and it revived it and let it go. It swam off. So they're pretty durable. So, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, be gentle with them, you know, but don't be worried about time, keeping them out of the water. Take some pictures, enjoy it, you know, get some good shots, you know. So, you know, it's not a fish you're going to get every day. You know, it's like elk hunting, you know, you're not going to be successful every time. So, you know, enjoy your fish that you get.
Can you tell just by looking at him if he's legal size or if he's
I
in the
can
slot?
usually
you
tell, like
gotta
that
tape 'em.
61 incher, I thought, maybe he's legal, but he's a little bit over. Well, he's an inch over.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, you can legally take him out of the water up to 68 inches, which is 8 inches over. They don't like you to take him out beyond that because they figure bringing him over the side of the boat, putting him back in, trying to lift him in, you can damage him.
And you're measuring from the nose
From the
to
nose
the fork?
to the fork of the tail.
Fork of the tail. That's with striper too?
No, striper's overall length.
Tip of the tail, huh?
Yep.
Do you just grab them bare hand, or do you use some kind of gloves to keep from getting cut up?
You're not gonna get cut up.
You just gotta grab.
I mean, if you got,
Yeah.
you know, piano player hand,
it.
you might, but you know, you're not gonna get cut up. Those things, they can cut, but you know, they'll cut leaders, they'll cut line, but you still see the bottom of the boat. And you got lights, night lights on and stuff, you know, so they know something's there. So, you know, usually if there's something there, it's gonna be hazards for them, you know, of some sort. So they just go around it, you know. It's not a big deal for them.
When you say side finder, you're just talking about like side view sonar.
Yeah, yeah, that's been such a new tool for me. My last couple trips out, you know, I've seen one or two right underneath the boat, and that's normally what I would see, you know, with my sonar. And then now with the side finder, you know, I'm seeing 10 dozen fish a night. You know, so I know that they're all over the place.
You strictly fish at night?
I like to fish. Now, sturgeon, they'll hit any one of the 24 hours in a day. But I found out over time that my most productive time is the last couple hours before it gets dark and the first 3 or 4 hours after dark. In fact, my last couple trips, I got out there, you know, I'll get out there earlier just to get my spot, make sure no one else gets it. And I'll sit there till dark and never mark a sturgeon. Then after it gets black out, I'll start seeing sturgeon going through. And I see sturgeon constant for about the next 3 hours, my last couple trips. And then after that, I stayed out this last time, because I got that one, you know, like 8:30, 9 o'clock, so I stayed till 11, trying to get a keeper, you know, for in here. And after about 9:30, not another fish. They were all like that first 3 hours after dark. Now you can catch them, you know, like in the moon phases. Now I like to fish the 5 days leading up to the full moon and the full moon, because then the moon's up when the sun goes down. So, you know, that for the times that I'm fishing, it's going to work the best. Now, you can fish, you know, the 5 days afterwards if you want to spend the night. Because what'll happen is they'll you know, kind of lay down right at sunset, and then they'll get active again when the moon comes up. So, you know, you want to spend the night if you're going to fish after the full moon. And also, I've also noticed that I always say that when the moon gets high enough that it turns white, that's when the fish start hitting. When it first comes up, you know, it's got all the colors from going through the atmosphere. Seems like I don't do any good. As soon as it gets high enough that it can turn white, that's when the fish start hitting. In fact, I remember one time when I was out and there was all kinds of sturgeon jumping around me. An old sturgeon guy told me, you know, you're not going to catch nothing when you got 20, 30 fish jumping around you, sturgeon jumping around you. You know, he said, in fact, he said, pull up your anchor and go up around the corner someplace, you know, he goes, 'cause you ain't going to catch nothing there. Well, I knew the moon wasn't going to be up right at sunset when I was there. So I go, well, they'll lay down and pick up. So they're jumping all over the place. As soon as it got dark, they quit jumping. And about 9 o'clock, the moon was going to come up, and I watched it. As soon as it got to where it was about white in the sky, boom, I got my fish. So, now, baits. We're going to talk about baits an awful lot. We got some eel. This eel is not a lamprey eel, so I thought it'd be a good one to play around with in here. I bought it one time and I got home and I go, that ain't a lamprey. And I've never had any luck unless it's a lamprey eel. So what I'll do is I'll cut a chunk out of it, and then I'll slice him from his belly up, but I'll try not to go all the way through. And I'll just lay it over like that. And then, let's get one of these. I'll wrap it around inside out. I'll take my thread, wrap it around in here. Whoops.
sushi or something.
Sushi buffet.
And then now you want to go back up to the front. Now you can use a bait button for this part, or you can use your thread to hook it on there. But I'll cut another chunk. And this time I'll cut it all the way through, cutting it in half. And then I'll put one on with a skin facing in this way. One on with the skin facing in this way. So that the meat side's out. And now, because I don't have a bait button, I just wrap around like this. And then back down again. I don't put any scent on it first time it goes out. When I bring it back in, I might add a little anise to it, or a little bloody tuna or something. So that's the bait right there.
Hook exposed then, huh?
Yep, hook exposed. Right there. Now I like to, up here in the river, eel doesn't work all that great. When the sturgeon first come up, it seems like they want eel. But once they've been up here a little bit, it seems like you can't get them to hit eel. But I do like to have eel out there because the bait sealers are so bad up here that, you know, if I'm using ghost strip or something, they're just stripping me all the time. Well, at least with this out there, I know I got bait out there all the time.
They won't go after that?
Well, they will once in a while. Most of the catfish will, but other fish kind of know they can't, they're not going to get it off there. So they don't mess with it too much.
Well, you leave that loose on the end, what, so they can...
Just so you're laying there on the bottom like this, and it's just kind of flopping around in the water going by.
When the sturgeon picks it up, will he put the whole thing in his mouth?
Yeah, he'll suck the whole thing in there. You know, you got to remember, you know, you're up here, a little fish is, you know, 45, 50 inches. Up here, I've only caught one undersized sturgeon in my whole life up here. You know, because they're juveniles, so they're going to stay down the delta. Because the only ones that come up here are the ones that are looking to spawn. They're too young to spawn. So you're going to get big fish, so you can use a little bit bigger baits.
So you're saying up here, you mean from Sacramento upstream?
Well,
Or
I'd say
from
Verona up.
Verona up?
Yeah, Verona. I like to fish up by Calusa. I'll start in Verona. You know, it's been kind of, you can't launch there most of the time.
Last time I was there, it's closed.
Yeah, well, I heard they're opening it.
Oh.
But, you know, I fish at Verona, I fish at Nice Landing, I'll fish at Tisdale, and I just kind of work my way up. I might fish at Ward's, and I'll fish at Calusa.
How deep's the water up there? Is it like good enough for a regular outboard? Or
Outboard, I wouldn't go above Calusa. Don't go above Calusa. But if you're fishing Ward's or Tisdale or something like that, you'd be all right. You stay to the middle of the river, watch for snags. You know, there's a couple of areas you might want to know the river, go with somebody who knows. There's a couple of areas where it's real snaggy, like around the Glory Hole, places like that, you know, where it's just a snag field. You know, you wouldn't want to go by Pearson's Dock, you know, so you want to go like from Tisdale up to there, and then you go from Ward's down to there, because you wouldn't get past there with a prop. Not very, you know, at least you couldn't count on it. But I fished that whole area with a prop before I started using a jet, so it can be done. If you just know where the snags are, I just slow down and idle through it. That way if I bump one, it's, you know, not going to tear anything up. So our next bait is actually my favorite bait to use. It's ghost shrimp and night crawlers. I used to use pile worms all the time, but pile worms got so expensive, and they're a saltwater creature, so you put them on, you throw it out there, bring it in 5 minutes later, and they're dead, it seems like. These night crawlers, you can tie them on there, and you can leave that bait on all night, and you bring it in the morning, and they're still moving. And that sturgeon comes along, and he's sucking the bottom, feeling around, you know, and he feels those ends of those night crawlers moving, and he'll just latch right onto it. So I think night crawler is the way to go. Plus the fact you use them from trip to trip to trip until you wear them out. You know, your pile worms, you either use them up or throw them in the river, because you ain't going to use them the next time. So the only thing that's bad about it is this stinking worm dirt. It gets your rods crappy, it gets everything all over your boat lousy. Now, what I like to do is I take 3 ghost shrimps and I just lay them on here like this. Lay them on there like that. And then I don't want to kill them. I don't pierce them. I don't want to kill them. I want them to stay alive because I want things to be moving around. I want the sturgeon to know that it's a good bait. Remember one time I was gonna thought I was gonna cut a fat hog. I heard duck guts, work great for catfish. I thought, oh man, I'm gonna catch some sturgeon with duck guts. All I caught was a bunch of catfish. So they, sturgeon and catfish are alike in a lot of ways, but when it comes to bait, sturgeon and catfish are the total opposite. The stinkier it is, the better it is for catfish. The sturgeon don't like old bait. Even your ghost shrimp, once it dies, if it's been dead for very long at all, just throw it out because it starts smelling and it won't hit it. And these guys come up with all this stuff, ways to, a lot of times they break off a big claw. They come up with different ways of curing it, this and that. I've never found any way that works. If I can't get live ghost shrimp, I don't use ghost shrimp. So then I take my night crawlers. Just lay them in here like this. And then lay back the other way, get the extra long one. You kind of want to do it 2 ways with them. If you do it one way, they'll wiggle out of there. So you kind of want to wind them going up, lay them back, and wind them going back. And just wind around the end a few times, pop it. There you go. Here's my ghost shrimp setup. That's what's been getting my fish this week for sure. Now, we got sardines. Sardines and anchovies are underrated bait because, think about how many guys have been out striper fishing and they caught a sturgeon. They catch them on sardines. So don't be afraid to use them. If you can't get your ghost shrimp, can't get your other bait, your sardines will do the trick. Now, I would be sure and soak them good with some bloody tuna. Cut the tail off, cut the back off so you got a section in here. You could even hook it through the eyes and throw it out there. Open it up, take the bones out. And I lay it around like this with a thick side to the front. So when the current's going against it, it'll ride the current pretty well. And then tie this on. Just kind of the old striper way, Now, what you can do here too, if you want, you add a couple night crawlers on here. You can even add a couple night crawlers on your eel if you want to spice it up a little bit. Don't be afraid to use night crawlers. Add a couple night crawlers on there. There you go.
And the same thing, you want to leave them living. Just
Yeah, because these will be down there, they're moving around. And they're,
That's an attractive one.
yeah,
They
it's
see-
an
they can
attractor
see that
because they can
moving.
feel it. Their little barbels they have on their, their whiskers. They can feel it, sense it.
Can they see it or they feel it?
Well, they feel it because their eyes are more like
On
just
top.
above the halfway point, and they're feeding down here, so they're not going to really see things very well. They're just going to. Okay, now.
I got a question. When
Sure.
you go out, do you throw like a variety out, like a smorgasbord? to
Yes,
see
I
what
like to
hits?
throw. If I know they're hitting like ghost shrimp, the last trip, say if I was within, a couple of days, they're on ghost shrimp, then I'll use most of the ghost shrimp. But I like to always have a little bit of a variety out there. Sometimes I'll go like 3 different ones. I might put, ghost shrimp and eel and roe on another one. Just have everything out there you can. Let them decide what they want to hit. Then you might want to go to that once you catch one.
You caught them with the sardine and.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not my favorite bait by any means, but if you get one of these weeks, which that's gonna happen, and you can't get no ghost shrimp, you can't get no pile worms, so. But I want to go fishing. So, like I said, don't be afraid to use sardine.
Where'd you get that really big fish that you talked about at the Bob Sims show, that one you get last Saturday? You said you got, was like 130 pounds or something like that, or something?
Yeah, well, estimated. I figured it was about 7 feet. I didn't measure it officially, but, I just kind of figured I was going to net him just to get him up to the side of the boat. He was over 68, so I couldn't take him out of the water. But I was just going to bring him to the side of the boat so I get the hook out, and I stuck the net down there in his head, and I went, oh, forget that. So I got my glove on, and I don't really recommend that, but I wrapped the cable around my hand and just pulled it in, around the glove, and then got it in and just did it like that. So.
What was it eating?
Well, that was the ghost shrimp and night crawlers, yeah. I caught all my fish the last week in the ghost shrimp and night crawlers. But
How would you recommend pulling it back? Sturgeon in if you're not.
well, see, I was by myself, I mean, if you got somebody with you, you got the rod guy, he can hold it.
Hold it out.
Yeah, I mean, you can grab the line, but,
Flip them.
yeah, I just hate to see somebody wrap the hand around it and then it pulls them in the water,
Say goodbye.
So, yeah, that's why I don't want to recommend it. But this guy, I had him so whipped, that I knew he wouldn't do it, so I went
How do
ahead.
you usually bring it in? Rope on the tail, or you just
No,
net,
you
they'll fold out?
can't. You can't use ropes on the tail anymore. You got to
Oh,
net 'em.
okay.
Now anything that's keeper size, or even say up to 68 inches, you can get them in the net.
I folded them up before they fit right in the net when
Right.
they
You
fired out.
just bring them in, go right for their head, and then just do like that, do a circle, and it just loops them right up inside there. And it works great. But when you got a 7-footer. You can loop him, but he ain't got very much loop to it.
Did he reach the water? Did he jump?
The first one I got, the 7-footer, he jumped once. The one I got a couple nights ago, the 61-incher, he jumped 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good video.
And do they break water when they jump, or when they jump?
Well, he didn't come up all the way. I've had him come up all the way, but he'd come up like half his body out of the water on the way over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rob, I've heard that, and I was wondering if maybe you're doing it, being you're a guide, Matt, is the reporting of your sturgeon, whether they're oversized, undersized. I've heard that some of the guides, like down in the Delta, Pittsburgh, and that area, Antioch, that they're literally taking pictures and counting all their fish that they catch, whether they're over, under, or a keeper.
Some guys are working with Fish and Game,
That's what I've
and
heard
they're
they're
tagging
talking
them, picturing them, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not doing that. No.
Well, no, I heard they're looking to see what the fishery's like because they may stop sturgeon fishing on the side.
Yeah, well, they've tried that one a few times, unfortunately.
understand, but
I mean, I
didn't
think
know if
they're,
they
I think they're,
contacted you and you were doing that also to do
I,
a count.
no, I'm not doing that. I have noticed a decrease in our numbers of our fish up there. I can't really say that it's for a lack of fish. It might be,
Drought,
the drought, but, I've definitely noticed a decrease in the numbers of fish that I get up there. So, but I think, they give you 3 tags and then you have to stop fishing.
Yeah.
I would like to see them drop to just 1 tag and then you can keep fishing afterwards. Because, I mean, a fish is this big, I mean, there's a lot of guys in Delta, they'll keep 40, 42, 43-inch fish, Well, they'll start keeping a little bit bigger fish. And you keep a fish that's, 55 to 60 inches long. How much sturgeon are you going to eat in a year, And I have a lot of clients that catch keepers and they let them go. Just because you catch a keeper doesn't mean you have to keep it.
Are sturgeon good eating fish?
They are very good
Are they
eating.
really? Are they delicious?
Yeah.
I take them over any other
Really?
fish.
Uh-huh. Now, if I was here cleaning one, I was going to fillet it out, then I cut it up in chunks, skin it of course, and then I lay it down and I'll cut it this way. So the meat's not more than a half an inch thick, because it's like a lobster. You can very easily overcook it. So I don't like it to be more than a half an inch thick. That way I put it in a pan, a couple minutes the other side, that's it. Because if you start cooking it too much, it's just like a lobster. It'll get fishy tasting and it'll get rubbery.
No piece of bone at all in the fillet.
No. That's all. They got a spinal column, spinal cord, but after that it's just cartilage. So and it comes off just like a regular fish. They got rib cage. So.
How about last year being less rain? Was it harder to catch sturgeon last year?
Yeah, the last couple of years it was a little tougher because not as many fish come up. But the other thing is too, see up here, is sturgeon don't eat every day. They don't eat every day and they don't spawn every year. So some years we get a lot of fish up here, and other years we don't get nearly as many.
Is that because they're not spawning?
Yeah, they're just not spawning.
They won't come up.
You got a question?
Yeah, I fished with a guide on the Columbia River for sturgeon, and they use like a commercial, like a jar bait they call sturgeon candy, either squid
Yeah.
and other ones. Have you tried any of those? Or?
No, mess around a little bit. They use whole shad up there too. They use,
Pickled herring.
yeah,
Smelt. We used to dip smelt, and that's all we used on the Columbia.
yeah. It's a different fish. Just like the delta is so much different than up here in the river. Everybody does so well with eel down there, where that's one of my bottom baits. I'd almost take sardine over eel. But a couple of years ago I had 1 week. That's all they wanted to hit. I had one eel out in the center, and then I had a couple of ghost shrimp and pile worms or night crawlers out on each side. They hit the eel every time for a week, and then they quit. So you never know. That's why you want a variety, like you're saying. Okay, let me get to some roe here. I like to use a 7/0 hook with a roe. Now I started doing a little trick. Anchovies are also an underrated bait. But anybody who's ever had a pizza with anchovies on it knows that they're really salty. They're salty and they're strong. So I started do the same thing, cut the head tail off, open it up, get your bones out. And then I wrap one anchovy around the hook first.
Always skin side towards the hook.
Yeah, you get more of the tasty stuff out there.
I'll put $50 on you put a night crawler on it.
I have.
Just give it a wiggle.
Yeah. So now I got my anchovy on there. And then a lot of people use spawn sacks and stuff, but if you get your roe, a little bit earlier, if you get it right towards the end just before it spawns, the eggs are going to be so loose that you'll have to use spawn sacks. But if you get it earlier like this, like the roe we get for boondoggling and whatnot, it'll hold together fairly well.
So that's raw. You haven't cured, done anything.
No, this
with
is
it, it's just a raw skein.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I just took it out of the fish and froze it. And then just wrap this around it.
Oh,
You can't, Jim.
that's a lot of roe.
I wouldn't eat it.
When they have a
That's a huge ball of bait.
That's how I caught mine.
This works pretty good, just like that. Just there you go. You got to get some extra for the bait stealer. That works pretty well.
And how long will that last before it washes out?
It won't wash out.
Okay.
It'll get pecked out by the bait stealers, or fish pecking at it. And sturgeon, you want to use that reel down method with the roe, because they'll come up and they'll grab it and they'll just crunch it and get the juice out. So on your roe, rod, you want to make sure that when they start, you see your rod go on, you just go up and start reeling fast. The same principle as boondoggling, you know, using a little piece of rope going down. And if you set that hook, you'll never get a fish. You know, you got to feel that little bite, and then you just raise up, and when you feel the fish, feel the rod loading up, then you can set the hook. And it's the same principle.
So with all the other bait, you just grab and
Yeah, you can
You
just
don't-
grab, set the hook.
you don't do the reel down.
You can, but you don't have to.
Have you found either one more successful or?
Well, you know, the reel down method's more successful with a row, without a doubt. But you know, I'm just used to, you know, setting the hook on them. And you know, you watch, and if you watch your rod when it's working, you know, you can see when it's in their mouth.
Yeah.
You know, it'll just go down and just kind of stay down like that, because that's when they got it in their mouth.
Can
And
you-
they're working
subtle,
it.
very subtle on the rod tip.
Oh yeah, this last one was so subtle. If I wasn't standing there watching it, I never would have seen it.
So you holding it, or you're
No,
you're
I don't
sitting
hold
there
it.
watch it?
No, I was just standing there watching it.
How about the bait stealers? Do they?
Yeah,
use it
I just, you
as
know,
much?
your rod's moving like this, you know, because of the current and the boat moving, you know, but I just saw something different, so I got up and walked up there and looked at it, and I watched that rod. It's going like this. I go, oh man, that's got to be a sturgeon, you know, and then it just kind of went down like that, sat there, and I just set the hook and got
Get
it.
a line rub too.
Yeah, but line rubs, they'll take it down more, because it'll hang on it more. It's not going to be that little subtle
No,
thing.
not really. So.
Yeah, if you get a you know real good pull and you set the hook, you don't feel nothing. Probably was a line rub. A sturgeon are notorious for coming up to your bait, and they'll pick it up, suck it up, spit it out, and then they'll swim over top of it and just swim forward. And that's when they'll hit your line the most.
Right.
And then you pull, you set the hook, and you foul hook them. So yeah, you don't want to do that.
As far as them grabbing it in their mouth, you ever have them just take it, or they're always just sucking on
Sometimes
it?
they'll suck it up and then it'll hang somewhere in their mouth. Then that's the ideal thing. You'll see your
Yeah.
rod go like this, and then all of a sudden it'll just start going down like that. And then they got them. You know, you got them.
But
Like,
usually
over
you
the
gotta
30
set the
years
hook.
I've
You
fished
still set the
sturgeon,
hook,
set them
yeah, but you
twice.
got the fish. You know.
They
He's,
hook themselves.
yeah, they basically hung themselves. Chuck, you look like you want to ask something. Oh.
I'm just gonna talk.
Yeah, we already talked about the fish finder a little bit, but you know, go to that side finder. I'm telling you, you know, it'll feel funny at first. Now you got to remember too. You look down there, and you got your numbers out there, and you got this dark area, you know, blue area. Because I use a blue tint. That's where the water is going down the bottom. So now, say if you're in 15 feet of water, well, that first 15 feet doesn't count. So if you got a fish out there at 30 feet, where your 30-foot mark is, he's actually only 15 feet over, because that distance going down to the bottom, you got to subtract that off from the distance where the fish is. But man, you can see some really, really nice fish.
How are you setting up when you first move into a spot? First,
Well,
you're-
we'll get there. Hang on, big boy.
I'm sorry. I want to know.
Have you used live view or any of those?
No, I don't think live view would work. You know, I've talked with Alan about whether I should use live view, and he said a lot of the fishing I do, it really isn't worth it. You know.
Because they're just so on the bottom that
Yeah.
you're not gonna see them.
And I'm fishing, you know, 50 feet behind the boat. You know, as far as I can cast.
Oh, okay.
You
So
know,
this
what I'm
would be my
seeing,
next
what I'm
question.
seeing is just a fish going by. But don't get discouraged like, oh, he's already gone, because they go back and forth. You know, just because he went past you doesn't mean he's not going to come back. You know, and just keep vacuuming that bottom, that smooth flat bottom. That's where they look for food.
This might be a little off topic, but you know how there's a lot of rain coming in, right? Would you
A lot of what?
rain coming in lately? Would you say that would like disturb the fishing lately, or is just kind of hot right now? Do you think it would like?
Yeah, the rain's good. Sturgeon like muddy water. I'm not very successful of it getting too muddy. You know, you get to that chocolate milk kind of stuff. It gets tougher. And I think what it is they have those little gel-filled receptors in their nose like a shark's got. And I think they get plugged up with silt and stuff during that time, and they have trouble finding the bait. But if they find your bait, they'll eat it. You know, so I like to wait till you get just past that. Now, you know, if you probably got charts on your phone or whatever, you know, river levels, you know, where you see it, the river's going along, then it goes up, and then it goes back down. Now, first third where you're going up, that's the best time to fish, you know, and then a lot of people don't realize it, but in that last third going down, that's good too. You don't want to get in there in that big high hump because you got a lot of trash coming down, a lot of trees coming down. You know, you don't want to be out there then. You know, you get that first third right when it first starts coming up, that they'll go on the bite. You know, so
When the bait stores get in live ghost shrimp, how long do they last?
well, what I usually do is I make them. A lot of them keep them they mix up some salt water, and I bring a jar, have them give me a jar of salt water with it, and then what I do is they're just in a container, you know, like a little meal container, you know, and what you do is go home, drain off the water, and then I'll put a little salt water on it, just a little bit, not very much, just enough to cover the bottom, and make sure you drain that water off each day, because your ghost shrimp will urinate in the water, and their own urine will kill them. So you want to be sure and drain that off each day and put some a little bit of fresh stuff in there. These ghost shrimp I have now, I bought them a week ago.
And they're still alive.
So they're just barely making. They ain't gonna make it much longer. So, but you know, I've kept them alive for a week.
But you see them in the stores a lot. They're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had some die too, and that's another thing. You want to be sure when you go to change your salt water, go through and look for the ones that are dead. Throw them out. You know, don't leave them in there. I think the dead ones will also kill the live ones.
Put off some stuff.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want them to smell. You know, remember that smell. You know, they want fresh food.
You ever just save the dead ones, like freeze them for catfish or something?
You could, yeah. But I've had trouble with when you freeze them and then you defrost them. They're all mushy.
Oh,
They're hard to work with.
I got one more question about the rod, your Phoenix. How long have you had your Phoenix, and about how?
Oh, this isn't a Phoenix. That's a Cousins.
Oh, okay.
But you can buy a Phoenix. It's just like it.
And
Steve, what Phoenix rod do you have?
I have the Invis.
What numbers?
I have the,
808?
809 and 808.
Yeah. See, I got an 808.
and what do you think about those rods? Are they?
Oh, they're fine. Yeah, just Cousins was my rod company for a long time. They went out of business. You know, they made great rods. I loved every rod they had, but every rod I got from them I liked, but they must have had crappy management because they didn't last. They went under, you know, so.
Because everybody went to China and had their rods made practically.
Yeah. All right. So now, when you're out there, you want to, you know, you got to remember too, you know, you got to have patience. Sturgeon fishing is like archery deer hunting. I used to archery deer hunt in a tree stand, and I spent 6, 8, 10 hours a day sitting in a tree stand, just sitting there like this, just looking. And that's the secret, you know. You just got to outweigh them, you know. Because sturgeon, what they'll do is they'll have a time of day that they're migrating, and a time of day that they're feeding. And the rest of the time they're going to be crawling in around a snag, you know, and just breaking from the current and just resting in there. In fact, a lot of times we'll hook a sturgeon and it'll run right to a snag. Usually they're not that sharp.
It won't cut your hands.
The little scoots that are on the side.
Yeah. Because they got 5 rows of those bad boys.
Well, they got a row on the top, and then 2 rows in the middle, and then 2 rows in the belly. Yeah, fine.
That gets hung in the net a lot, though, huh?
Yeah, it gets hung in the net, and that's why you got to have a little bit thicker net, because you get a real thin net, you know. They'll you know, eventually they'll cut, you know. Do you have a question?
I wanted to show you a picture, because you had mentioned earlier about the fish when they're going back down. Are those sturgeon with nose down?
Yeah, because
No.
they're straight lines.
Okay.
Were you moving?
No, that was
Okay.
outgoing tide. About a half hour after the outgoing tide started.
I would say that was bubbles coming up off the bottom.
Okay. Good to know.
But usually, if they'd be not quite that high, and they're going to be a little arc to them like
okay.
this. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Here, I can show you some pictures of on the side finder.
Oh, cool. How do you look for the sturgeon before you anchor up, or you just got spots?
Well, I
Or
got
you-
spots. Now you know you
Where
can
they see
you can look
them.
for them if you want up here. You know if you want to use your side finder and just putt upstream and look for one, and then go up above him and set up. It works too. This phone's about.
They do that on the Delta a lot, don't they?
Huh?
They.
Yeah, they do that on the Delta all the
hunt
time.
them On the Delta.
See, there's one. So they're going to look like a sturgeon when you see them. And the dark part you see on there, that's actually the fish's shadow. That's not the fish. If you look real close, the fish should be right next to it, and then the dark outline you see, that's his shadow. Because what it's like is it's like a flashlight, and it's just a narrow beam that goes straight out both ways from your boat. It's almost like a masonry wall, you know, it's just a narrow beam that goes out. And so when they swim through it, it's going to shine on them like a flashlight, like you shine up against that wall. You know, if you're right next to the wall, you're going to get a real sharp shadow behind you. But if you're back away from the wall, it's going to be more blurred, you know, more of a blob. That's the same thing. And you can see them. Salmon season, man. I did a video where I could see the salmon were coming up and just going out around my boat. And you can see like the salmon that were right next to the bottom right here. It's super clear, super good outline. You can see all these salmon right here going at a 45-degree angle. You can see the shadow and the fish, shadow of the fish, shadow of the fish. And these ones up here in the back, they were right underneath the boat. But they were just all coming up and moving out around my boat.
Back on this bait right here, when you put the night crawler around there, is it probably what? Is it better all the time to have that two bait on there?
Yeah, it's kind of
it
the
looks
thing.
good.
A number of years ago, combo baits. You know, we used night crawlers and we used ghost shrimp and pile worms for many years. And then pile worms got so expensive.